Thank you so much for joining us, Chantyl. Yes. Let's start with this year's theme that drives the conversations this year.
Well, you know, Courageous Conversations was started by our profession a while ago, and actually more specifically the Wiseman and Cushley Trust, because we wanted to have very difficult discussions about issues facing our country. And be it education, be it water, sanitation, really difficult things that actually hamper our country going forward. This year when the trustees got together, we had to say to ourselves, well, listen, no further discussions around that. The biggest issue facing our profession is the erosion of trust. Because I think what has happened, we've seen with a lot of things with our auditing profession, we've seen a lot of things even with our members in senior positions and CFO positions. And tonight is really about to say, well, where have we come from? Exactly what has happened during that period? And going forward, what should we do? What big changes should we do? Because I don't think tonight is just about a talk shop. And we've also realized, and everybody, you know, our members, everybody has been criticizing us heavily and saying, well, what is Saica doing? What are you saying? You don't say anything. Nobody says anything in the media. We took our time, and we've had a lot of other people discussing us. I think you're all aware of it. We've had lots of panels. We've had other professional accounting bodies discussing the state of the profession, which is really, it's about Saica and Saica members and what we are doing as a big accounting profession with more than 44,000 members to say what has actually led us to get to this point. And what are we going to do to rectify it? And we only want 5 or 6 big ticket items that we want to leave with and say, how are we going to deal with it? And let's have these courageous conversations. Let's have a look at it. So we've asked everybody, honesty and openness, because then one can actually work with. And that's what tonight's discussions are about, to really start the discussions, our profession for our profession, taking control of the matters and saying, how are we going to deal with it?
Right, and part of taking that control is obviously the monitoring and enforcement, given what's happened in recent months. Talk a little bit more about Saica's role here.
Absolutely. You know, for us, we actually have decided and agreed. I think the first thing that we have done, which is very courageous, we've changed our bylaws. And we've decided, because we have been a profession, and people will say, well, you're a profession, you serve self-interest. So you don't actually publish, nobody wants to name and shame, you keep everything quiet, and nobody actually knows that action is happening. So we could change our bylaws, a decision of our board, which we did change, and we are now going to start publishing all the people who will be up for disciplinary hearings. And we don't necessarily at this point in time publish the nation, but we want to be open, we want to be honest about it, where we're going, and that process has started. Secondly, we've also, as the board has also agreed, that we need to set up a proper compliance unit. So it doesn't help that we actually pay lip service to a lot of things. For example, do you comply to our code of conduct? And if you don't comply, what is it going to be? What are we going to require from you as a member? Because at the end of the day, we're a profession that we need to be, people must trust us. They must trust us that we don't only serve self-interest, but we also act in the interest of public interest. So compliance unit is going to be set up, where we are definitely going to monitor compliance of our members. With all our codes of ethics, we're going to particularly look at continuing professional development. You can't be a professional unless you don't actually keep up to date and deal with the issues. And we're going to hold members accountable.
Right. But it's also not just about dealing with the issue once it's already come up. I think it starts right in the early stages of education. Talk to us about the levels of education and really how it will change the development of the profession.
Well, what we're doing is, as part of our undergraduate programs, we've got ethics is built in to everything that we do. From an undergraduate program, it's built into our training program, and I do know that as part of a lot of their training programs, not only from us but by accredited training officers as well, it's critical. So we've actually got, if one would want to draw the analogy, it's a thin little thread that goes all the way through to make people even more conscious of what does ethical behavior mean? What does it mean to belong to a profession? How do you conduct yourself? How do you deal with issues? I mean, one of the biggest issues that one has difficulty in, that people generally don't know and understand, is conflict of interest. You've got it all over. People, board members not understanding necessarily their roles, that they can actually procure business from the company where they're serving on. It's all those kind of things which countrywide, it's a big issue. So, and we're going to focus on certain issues in our code: integrity, conflict, how, what do you do in certain situations? And we've built it into the education of all our youngsters from an early age coming through. But I think it's a process. My own personal opinion, I've been in the profession many years, and it's about a process, and we've got to make sure that we do it absolutely slowly but surely, and then hold people accountable. Biggest problem is we don't hold people accountable, and we have to start holding people accountable. And people need to take it on and be proud of it. Listen, they must know that there's going to be consequences.